about co thanks, Joel. About co-living and how to achieve financial independence for real estate investing. So we did all that. I've got three gifts for you today, and we're going to reveal these gifts for you all the way at the end. So you get bonus points if you can stick with me here all the way through. Um, and so what we're talking about today is how to achieve financial independence in 3 years or less. This is something that I've done through co-living. My business partner Grant has done, and I'm going to share with you a couple other people that have done this too. So it is very much doable and very much repeatable, which is why it's one of my favorite strategies. First off, who am I? Why me? I think a lot of you know me on this call, but in case you don't know me, number one, my name is Craig Curelop, a man of God. Number two, a loving husband, and to my beautiful wife, as well as a, I guess if you want to call it a pet animal, or what is it called, like a dog daddy or a fur baby or whatever. I don't love any of those words. Got lots of animals. It's fun up in here. Uh, Founder and leader of the FI team, Denver's #1 investor-friendly realtor team, as well as a real estate investor. And this is me doing a picture of me doing my first real estate deal. Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted with this chat in my way. Okay. And so to the investor, to the financial independence community, this is me on Mr. Money Mustache's site. If you've ever heard of Mr. Money Mustache, he's one of like the iconic people in financial independence, retiring early and all that. And he wrote an article on me called The Man Who Retired at 27. I purchased my first property at a little like 24 and a half and retired by the age of 27. And that's me speaking, probably right around the age of 27, at his headquarters to a bunch of his followers and a bunch of his community about retiring with real estate. To the Bigger Pockets community, I am I'm the house hacking guy, right? I've been on the Bigger Pockets podcast multiple times, um, wrote a book for Bigger Pockets, and cool little animation there. And have spoken multiple times at the Bigger Pockets Real Estate Conference. This year will be my sixth time at speaking at Bigger Pockets Conference. So I hope to see you guys in Vegas. If you can't make it, would love to see you all there. And again, all this has been done through the strategy of co-living. And right now, too, we operate Denver's #1 team of investor-friendly realtors. We've helped hundreds and hundreds of people buy these co-living homes. And you can see that we've got a decent reputation, over 400 five-star reviews. This is my beautiful team. We're pretty attractive, too. We host one of Denver's largest real estate investing meetups. So if you're in Denver, every first Wednesday, 6 p.m. at Jackson's, would love to see you there. And also co-host of a podcast where we interview a lot of new real estate investors that are going through their journey doing their first deal. I tend to hang out with people a lot in the Bigger Pockets community. Some of you guys may not know this face, but you may know the name, and you'll certainly know the company he started. This is Josh Dorkin, the CEO, no longer CEO, but the founder of Bigger Pockets. And so him and I were surfing in Hawaii together, having tons of fun, talking real estate, talking business, and all that. And then, of course, a lot of you guys know this guy, Brandon, good buddy of mine as well. And again, we like to hang out, chat real estate, jam on real estate. And both of these guys are super, super into co-living. So if you didn't have to get convinced to be in co-living, to be on this webinar, to be here with us today, then I mean, these guys are doing it too. And so now, right, 7, 8 years later, this is me as a real estate investor, a little bit older, over 100+ units if you include my LP syndication deals that I've got, over $15,000 a month of passive income, 10 of which are through co-living homes. My business partner, Grant, who freakishly enough was doing almost the same exact thing in almost the same exact place for me, yet we had never crossed paths up until about 6 or 8 months ago. And he came on my podcast and was one of our most successful episodes we've ever had. If you haven't seen it, go check out the Investify episode with Grant Shipman on it. And we just were like, holy crap, like we're doing the same exact thing. He's been living in co-living homes since 2000. So he knows how this stuff works, like in the inside and out. He's been managing co-living homes since 2018. Funny enough with me, same exact story here. That's when I bought my first co-living home. He's tremendously scaled and built a massive portfolio of co-living homes, taking what he's learned from living in them and how to actually make the residents in these homes happy and coupling it with the investment side, because when the residents are happy, well, guess what? So are the investors. Of course, he's a loving husband and father. These that you're seeing here are actually his two oldest kids. This picture might be a couple of years old, and he's got twins on the way. So super excited for Grant. And so because we had so much in common, and because we were two thought leaders in the space that were right next to each other, we spent a lot of time together over the last 6 months and decided, hey, let's do this thing together so we can create something bigger and badder than we ever have. And so total, together, we have over 100 properties, co-living properties under management. This brings us in over $100,000 a month in gross revenue. At 97% occupancy is what our company as a whole is running at. These people are staying, each room has an average tenancy of 24 months. And both of us have been financially free in under 3 years, inexpensive markets without really overlapping each other at all, but yet doing the same strategy. And we're here to show you exactly how to do that today as well. Just like our good friend Jeff White. So my good friend Jeff White, he's a Denver guy as well. He has brought 8 properties and was actually just featured in Business Insider last week. Him and his wife was able to house hack one house at a time to early retirement in 6.5 years. He could have done it way earlier than this, but he loved his job and actually made pretty good money. So he stayed a little longer than he needed to. But he specializes in co-living and specifically Section 8 along with co-living. And again, him and his wife are now financially free. I need to catch up with him to see if he's actually quit his job or if this is just a cool little article. My buddy Gabe Slind. So this could be, right, I want to like kind of paint the picture of like, this could be you in a year or less from now, right? My buddy Gabe Slind, he is as young as he looks in this picture. He's like 22, 23 years old, bought his first property in August of last year. Prices were high, rates were high, market, it's pretty much the same market conditions as today. He's rented out all of his rooms, is cash flowing, and is making over $300 a month while living for free in his house hack in Aurora, Colorado. Michael and Kylie, this couple is near and dear to my heart. I love Mike. They were my first clients that have achieved financial independence, like directly through what we were doing. And they bought 3 properties over the course of 3 years, each of which cash flowed them $1,500 a month. So now they live off $4,500, might be $5,000 now because rents have increased a little bit. And I saw this Facebook post the other day of them hiking a 14er on a Tuesday, right? And so this stuff is just like super, super exciting. This is the life that we're here to live. Like we're not here to be strapped behind a computer all day. And if it wasn't enough, right? I told you, Brandon's getting interested in this stuff. Well, Brandon shot me a voice message the other day saying, hey, him and his buddy Scott, who's his partner on this co-living stuff, want to invest in Denver and they want to partner with us to see, hey, how can we make this work in the city of Denver? So super stoked to help Brandon out. Super stoked to see if maybe Josh and these guys and hopefully some of you guys are getting involved in this stuff because it is a game changer. And so our goal today is to teach you how to buy co-living homes so that you can make more money than you ever could possibly have dreamed of. That way you can scale to live the life that you want. A lot of you guys now, you might be thinking, hey, $3,000 a month sounds really nice, so I can quit my job. 5,000 sounds really nice. But what if you had 10, 15, 20, $30,000 a month? What could you do? How could you be a blessing to other people in your life? And so that is kind of what we're here today. And I would just love to have your word that if we can teach you on how to make tens of thousands of dollars a month to maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars a month through this co-living strategy, that you'd be willing to maybe spend a small portion of that with us here today, or in the next couple of weeks or at some point in time, so that we can make sure that we're helping, coaching, and guiding you through that process so you don't make those big mistakes. Can I have your word on that? You can just type yes in the chat, and I'll let you say yes this time. And so why won't you take action? Let me tell you, I talk to a lot of different people, and a lot of people are afraid, and a lot of people are still sitting at their W-2 jobs and they won't take action. The number one is money. And a lot of people says it takes money to make money. And if that were true, I would still be sitting in this cubicle with a negative $30,000 net worth, absolutely hating my life, working for somebody making 100 times more than me. And guess what? There's no windows in this office if you can't already tell. Grant would still be a Domino's delivery driver making $8.50 an hour, or perhaps he's increased to the new minimum wage of $15 an hour or whatever it is. And you would never have been able to take that next step because it was okay. And so money is, it's a tool. It is meant to serve you. You need to not be so attached to it because as you invest in things like yourself, like property and all that, you are going to have to probably spend more money than you've ever spent before so that you can then recoup that back to you. Grant Cardone says if he had to quit, if he lost all of his money and he only had $1,000 to his name, the first thing he would do would invest in himself, invest in some education program, because that always, always, always has the highest ROI, especially in the beginning. Number two is time. Right? There's a lot of different things pulling at you. We all have the 24 hours a day, and it's really, really hard to juggle it. I want to introduce you to my good buddy, Nate. Nate does this thing called job hacking, which maybe you've heard of it, and maybe there's a different word for it. But he works 2 full-time jobs as an engineer, and he still has 4 co-living homes, going on 5 co-living homes that he is managing himself. And so if you think you have, I don't even have, like, I thought I was a busy guy. Nate has figured out how to make things work, and we can figure out how to make things work as long as the systems are there. Overemployed. That's the word. Thanks, Ted. Um, Overemployed. Okay, I'm getting corrected. The third thing is ability. Right, a lot of people don't think they'll be able to do it. Well, they look at me and they say, "Oh, I wrote the book. Craig, you wrote the book on house hacking. You used to work for Bigger Pockets." Like, that's not me. Oh, you did this in 2017. You're real comfortable doing this now. Well, guess what? This was not comfortable for me. I was scared, shaking in my boots the first, second, third time I bought a property, and I had no one really to coach and guide me along. Sure, Bigger Pockets was there, but no one was really doing co-living. I was the first person that I knew that bought a house hack that wasn't a duplex, triplex, or quad. That's why I got to write the book on it. You have all this information. Just like once before, you were a baby that didn't know how to pee or poop by yourself. You didn't know how to, feed yourself. You didn't know how to drive a car. But now I bet you're sitting at red lights texting. I bet you might even be on the highway, shooting off a quick text. I've been there, right? And so you get comfortable the more and more you do things. So the more and more you invest, the more and more you start doing this co-living stuff, the much more easier it's going to be. But you got to take that first step. Reason number 4 why you won't take a step forward is confusion. There's a lot of things pulling at you right now. You have this goal of financial independence, and there's lots of different ways to get there, right? You're going to sit here and listen to co-living, which is, I think, the best way. But you might listen to some guy who's doing multifamily, and another guy who's doing sub-2, and another guy who's doing crypto, and whatever that is, right? So I'm not ignorant to think that I'm the only person, and we're the only person that's actually tugging at you right now. But I will say, my buddy Brett Fink, who he did, I think, he had like the most convoluted, crazy way to get started in this thing. He lived in San Francisco, California, one of the most expensive markets in the country, and he couldn't afford it. No one can afford living in San Francisco. And so what he did was he rented a house, a large, like 8 or 9 bedroom house in San Francisco. I think it might have been Daly City, if you know San Francisco. And he rented that house and then subleased it to other entrepreneurs in the area for much more. And he was netting like $6,000 or $7,000 a month on that thing. He was making an extra $80,000 a year from one house. So like, what would $80,000 a year for you? The great thing about this strategy is there's so many different flavors to do it, and we're going to get into a lot of that here. And the last thing that gets people scared, or that gets people from moving forward, is fear. This one, I can't help you with. You have to understand that there's a reason why the retirement age is 65. There's a reason why the average American has less than $1,000 in their bank account. There's a reason why, and it's because of fear. They're afraid to take a risk to make and to totally change their lives. And that's something that I really can't help you with. You have to be courageous enough, have faith not only in the people around you, whether that's me, Grant, your peers that you'll meet along the way, and also yourself, that if you put yourself in a risky situation, that you can get yourself out of it and achieve a huge ROI. And you will fail. I can promise you that. I have had hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars worth of failures in my 7, 8 years in real estate. I'm sure Grant would say the same, and I'm sure anybody with any sort of real estate experience would say the same. But the thing is we're still doing better than probably 99% of people out there. And so we're going to fail our way to the bank, just like this girl here. And so let's take a ride for a second here. I want to take you into a ride into the future, right? Let's say 3 months from now, you buy your first co-living property, and that first co-living property gets you $1,000 a month of cash flow. What are you going to do with that, right? And then let's say in the next year, you figure out, okay, well, I can buy a house. That's one way to achieve financial independence with co-living, is own all these houses. But what if I partner? What if I do the arbitrage strategy? Could I possibly get 4 properties in the next year? 4 properties in the next year will get you $4,000 a month, roughly, in cash flow. And then what if you got your systems figured out? You're managing, let's say, 20 to 25 people. Your friends are getting to know about it. Now you've got some easy partnerships. You've got some stuff. Things start to take off a lot more as you start taking action and people see you as an action taker. Let's say a year after you buy your fourth one, let's say you pick up one a month after that, one way or the other, and you've got now $12,000 a month of passive income. What does that do for you? Does that make you financially free? For me, that would be a massive amount of financial independence, right? Now I can start making others help make positive change. Now I achieved financial independence in 2020, and that's why I'm here with you guys today, right? I'm here to help other people achieve financial independence. We've been doing that through the FI team, and we're just trying to figure out and lever up and find as many ways to achieve financial independence. One of our main missions is to help reduce the U.S. retirement age from 65 to 55 by helping people in their 20s and 30s achieve financial independence and quote unquote retire. That drastically brings the age down, right? And so what are you going to do with the extra time that you have? Are you going to help other people? Maybe you spend more time in your church? Maybe you go volunteer. Maybe you do that mission trip you wanted to do. Maybe you go travel. Whatever that thing is that you want to do. Maybe you go play professional soccer if you're Luke. Whatever that thing is, right? Like go and achieve your passion. You just totally unlock your life once you're financially free. And then what are other people going to say about you, right? Let's say you've got $20,000, $30,000 a month of passive income. You spend maybe 5 or 10 of that on yourself, and you got an extra 20,000 coming in. What investments could you make? Who could you donate that money to? How could could you buy someone's dinner at a random restaurant and not think twice about it, right? There's so many things that money come into play, and especially if you're not attached to money, you're able to bless other people and really, make a lot for you. And I don't want you to like mistake this, this co-living strategy and this as the end, right? This is really just the beginning of your journey. And once you've achieved this financial independence is when I feel like life really begins. And so on this webinar, what we're going to really dive into here is going to be picking a market, building your team, finding and analyzing deals, with the rehab and furnishing aspect to it, marketing and screening tenants, managing conflict, which will always happen if you have unrelated people living in a home together, and of course, scaling so you can actually achieve the life that you'd like to live. So number one is pick a market. The best market is always 100% of the time going to be your backyard. The reason that your backyard is so important is your backyard, right? You know not to cross, not to cross Colfax. If you're in Denver, you know what I'm talking about. Like if you know what streets to go near, where all the people hang out and all that kind of stuff. There's nothing like local market knowledge. And so I just always recommend investing in your backyard. Now, if you're sitting here in Denver or perhaps, Seattle, Washington or whatever, you're probably looking at a more of appreciation market. And there's two types of markets. There's the cash flow market and the appreciation market. And house hacks work in either one. The great thing about cash flow markets is that you can spend your cash flow a lot easier than you can spend your appreciation. And so in a cash flowing market, the markets that we're investing in, we're going to see $2,000 to $3,000 a month of passive income per property. You buy 2 or 3 of these things and you're probably financially free and you can kind of, wipe off your hands and maybe life is good and you're done. However, the downside about a lot of these cash flowing properties is that the appreciation is much slower. And the appreciation is really where wealth is built in real estate. I can say that most of my investments, because I lived in Denver for a long time and I'm comfortable with that market, were in Colorado, Denver, Colorado, which is more of an appreciation market. And the cash flow on those properties, I always call it cute, like it helps, it's good, it helps me sustain the properties, but the magic by far and what's made me actually wealthy has been the appreciation in those markets. And so again, I don't think one is better than the other. The thing is you're going to want to invest in both markets, diversify. So now that I have a handful of investments in an appreciating market, I'm going to actually now pivot and go to a more cash flow market to just stabilize my portfolio. It's just like investing in stocks and bonds. You want a diversified portfolio? I like to have a diversified portfolio of real estate. The last thing you want to look at before picking a market is the regulations around unrelated tenants. Colorado just passed a law that basically makes it so local jurisdictions cannot regulate the amount of people living in a home. That is fantastic for co-living. Not every state has done that. And so if you're investing out of state, you're going to want to make sure that whatever neighborhood that you're investing in, you know how many unrelated people can live in a house there. Because the last thing you want is to have a 7 or 8 bedroom house and then have some government official knock on your door and kicking 3 of those people out, and there goes all your cash flow. That would be a horrible investment for you. So make sure you follow the rules. That's always going to be the biggest thing. So we talked about picking a market. I wouldn't overthink this. Your backyard is great. Um, Otherwise, and make sure your regulations are good. And I would just say stick to that. Number two, building a team. So the I'm perhaps biased here, but I think the nucleus of your team is going to be your investor-friendly realtor. Typically, your realtors know everybody else. So by having a good realtor, you're also going to be introduced to a great lender, great contractors, great property managers, and all of that kind of stuff. And you're going to want to make sure that your investor-friendly realtor is in fact an investor themselves. Ideally, they invest in co-living, so they know exactly the rules and regulations. They can help you set up. They know, what the demographics is and all that. Now, this might be harder to come by these days, specifically a co-living, especially if you're not in Colorado or anywhere that we service. But we do have a pretty large repository of investor-friendly realtors. Feel free, if you need one in your area, hit us up. We're always happy to make an introduction. Just shoot me a DM. I'm the Fly Guy on Instagram. And then we're going to introduce you to our lender. I always recommend going with getting at least 3 quotes from lenders. Go with your investor, the lender your realtor recommends. Go with a bigger bank like Chase or Bank of America or Wells Fargo, and then go with a local credit union. Then what I would do is I would take the lowest of those 3 offers, and I would then go and send that to the lender your investor-friendly realtor recommended, because the investor-friendly realtor's lender is going to by far give you the best service. No questions asked. The credit union, the big bank, they're not working weekends. They're not working nights. Unfortunately, real estate happens on nights and weekends. It's really unfortunate they don't like to work during those times. But the lender that your realtor likes will work those times. And so you bring those quotes to your lender, and many times they can match it or beat it. If they can match it, or even if they're just a touch more expensive, almost always it's worth it. I can't tell you how many deals that I've seen clients get hosed on because they went with a big bank that was cheap, but they lost their earnest money because they couldn't get a hold of them on a Saturday, or something crazy like that happens. You really want to go with a good service one, but try to get the best rate while you're at it. Property manager, of course, this super helps. If you're going to be here and you're going to be doing co-living, then you're basically the property manager. So I don't think you need that. But if you have a good investor-friendly realtor, they'll at least have connections for you. And then, of course, your contractor. And this is actually like legitimately our people, right? Like, this is our team of investor-friendly realtors. This is the management company. This is me and my contractor that we've been using him for years and years now. He's fantastic. And this is the lender, Mike Stone, that we introduce a lot of our co-living people to. And so you've got the market and we've got the team. Next up is finding the deal. So after you've been introduced to the lenders, you're going to be what's called pre-approved. And so when you're pre-approved, you're going to have an amount that you can buy. With that amount that you can buy, you're going to start and going to look on the market, and your realtor is going to help you find all these deals. So what do you look for in a deal? The first thing I look for, I'm going to look at the house before I look at anything. And so the house that I like to look for is I like to find the most beds, the most baths, and the most amount of square footage for the cheapest price. Ideally, what we're looking at here is there's a 3-to-1 bed to bathroom ratio. And so if you have a 3-bathroom house, you might think, okay, 3 times 3 is 9, right? Not necessarily. Almost always, at least in our area, a 3-bathroom house, like if it's a 5-bed, 3-bath, one of those bathrooms is going to be a master bathroom. And so if it only has access to one person, it only counts as one. So typically in a 5-bed, 3-bathroom house, the maximum amount of bedrooms we could have is 7. So that would be, 3 times 2 for the 2 common area bathrooms is 6, plus the 1 is 7. And so what you're going to need to do is potentially add another bathroom, so that way you can unlock another 3 bedrooms, which would make it a 10, which would probably absolutely make you crush it in terms of profit. In terms of square footage, what our rule of thumb is that a 6-bedroom house should be at least 2,250 square feet. And then you can add an additional 250 square feet after that for every additional bedroom. So 7-bedroom, 2,500, 8-bedroom, 2,750. And this is kind of like if the house is perfectly laid out. If it's got like a wonky layout, or like there's a huge master bedroom or a huge living area, that square footage thing may not work out. But it's still just kind of like a good rule of thumb to kind of like to pick through. And then parking is the other big thing. So if the layout looks good, the square footage look good, and I'm like, hey, we can get at least 7 or 8 bedrooms in this house, the next thing I'm going to do is look at parking. We want to be able to make sure there's a parking spot allocated to every bedroom in the house. So usually the driveway can hold 2 to 3, maybe 4 if you're super lucky. And then in front of the house might be able to hold 2 or 3. If you're trying to get 7 or 8 beds, there's usually some sort of like, okay, you have to take a look on the street and see where people are parking. Are you across the street from a park? That would be great. Are you across the street from like a neighbor where they have a fence and they're not going to care if you park there? That would be fantastic. You don't really want to park in front of your neighbor's house per se because they may not like that. And if you can't get your neighbors on board, it might not be a good idea. Corner lots are also fantastic for this kind of strategy. Absolutely love corner lots. I think that's some of the best real estate that you can get when you're looking for co-living homes. And then the last thing we look for is the ability to increase revenue. And so, adding a bathroom is a massive way to increase revenue, right? Adding a bathroom will unlock 3 more bedroom additions if you've got space. Of course, adding a bedroom also is fantastic. Adding a bedroom will cost you a couple grand and it will give you an extra $700-800 a month in rent. Massive ROI, you'll get paid back in 4 or 5 months. And so when you're running the numbers, we have our handy dandy co-living calculator here. So that way you don't need to, you don't need to second guess things. You don't need to make sure you don't miss anything. We're going to run numbers in 3 different ways. We're going to run the numbers as phase 1. What if you just close on this house and rent it exactly as is? What do those numbers look like? And does that work for you? Phase 2 is renting it with minor upgrades. And so this is like, okay, you can easily turn this downstairs common area into 2 more bedrooms. And so now instead of a 5-3, it's a 7-3. That's an easy upgrade. We always recommend doing that right away if you can. If you don't have any extra money, then we can start with phase 1. But ideally, we get you to phase 2 before we really start managing and starting getting the house up and going. And then you've got phase 3. Phase 3 is the most efficient possible. And so in this scenario, you'll see phase 3 as like, let's say you've got like a 2-car garage and you can convert that to 2 beds and a bath. And so, you're going to throw an extra 10, 20 grand to do that, but you're going to gain an extra $1,400 a month in rent. You may not have an extra 10 grand on hand right now to do these renovations, but as the house starts paying you back, maybe you're making $1,000, $2,000 a month in passive income from this house. You can save that, and then in a year's time, you invest back into it. And so that's another thing that we like to look for too. And we like to run the numbers in all these different ways. Once you've got the 3 ways to receive rents, now you've got your PITI. That's principal, interest, tax, and insurance. That is your monthly obligation to the lender that you're going to pay every single month. And then you've got your reserves, which encapsulates repairs, capital expenditures, vacancies, and all that kind of stuff. And you got a budget for that. And so an example of a co-living home that we bought in August 2024 is an 8-bed, 4-bath at 3,000 plus square feet. We bought it for 480,000. This is a B, C class neighborhood with tons of parking. So we like the house. We like the B to C class neighborhoods because people aren't going to care if you got eight cars and parked in front of the house. If you're in an A class neighborhood, people are going to care about that. So we try to keep it on the like good working class type neighborhoods. No crime, but no fanciness either. The purchase price on this property was 480,000. We put $20,000 into it, and the down payment we did 5% down for 24,000. The rent received was 6,000. PITI was 3,500, and we set $500 aside for reserves. So our cash flow on this property was about $2,000 a month. So 2,000 times 12 is $24,000 in annual cash flow. On a $44,000 investment, that's a cash on cash return of 83%. Good luck getting that anywhere else. It's literally unheard of, and we can get this time and time again on every single deal that we do. And then you add in the appreciation, which is if it appreciates 5%, which is like pretty normal in most markets, you're looking at an additional $24,000 of appreciation. Plus, your residents are paying down your loan, which is adding to your net worth. And so you're going to get another $5,000 a month, $5,000 a year added to your net worth. So your total net worth return on investment is going to be 120%. And again, we've done hundreds of deals, and they're almost always 100%, especially if you're able to put a low amount down. And so we got finding it. We kind of talked about the markets. We talked about the teams. We talked about finding and analyzing the deals. Next, we're going to talk about the rehab. So now you've closed on the property, and now it's time to try to make this thing as efficient as possible. And so what we like to look for is adding bedrooms, right? This is an easy thing. So this is the house that we bought, and behind this wall here is the stairs. So you come down the stairs here, and to the left is this big living area. All we did was add a door here, maybe a little bit of drywall and a normal sized door. Cost about $500 to do it. We're now able to receive an extra $950 a month in rent. I mean, that pays for itself in literally 1 month. Not always that easy though. This is another room that we had that was a totally unfinished storage room that we turned into a bedroom. And so this one costs a little bit more money, because we had to finish the whole thing. We had to run electrical. We had to do a bunch of stuff. Carpet, and then of course add the egress window. The egress window itself was 5 grand, and then the other stuff was 5 grand as well. And so this will be a little bit more costly, but again, we're going to get paid back from this room in a year, maybe a little over a year. Like still a great return on your investment. It's almost always worth it to add a bedroom to a house. Other thing is adding a bathroom. I almost feel like I'm playing what is that game with like the sheep and the wheat and stuff? Someone help me out. I forget the name.
Catan.
Catan. Catan. Yeah, Battlers of Catan. Yeah. Um, I feel like I'm playing this. I feel like I'm playing this game with like, okay, you add a bathroom and now I get three, you add a bathroom and now you get 3 bedrooms and you can get more rental income and more income from that. So you take a utility room and you can turn that into a bathroom as long as you can move the washer and dryer somewhere, of course, or you just keep the washer and dryer in the bathroom. That's like a totally normal place to keep your washer and dryer. And so you don't know there's water there. You know there's electric running there. So it's usually the systems are there to set up to add a bathroom. You just got to like go ahead and add the stuff. That'll cost you about 7 grand on the low end, maybe 10 grand on the high end, and it is a fantastic return on your investment as well. So some stuff not to do on the rehab, and this is a mistake that I made. I'm going to save you guys like $15,000 right here. Is that I bought this house with this is the first house I actually bought where I saw a full kitchen in the basement, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I can rent this out separate, and this is where like this whole strategy really birthed from, at least for me. But this is exactly what the basement kitchen looked like. It looked like someone would be murdered down here. And I decided that it would be a great idea to do quartz countertops, a beautiful tile backsplash, shaker cabinets, brand new appliances, and $15,000 later, I had a really beautiful basement apartment that no one really cares if they're living in a basement about quartz countertops. I can tell you that. And so what I should have done was probably kept all of this exactly the same, added some better lighting, and that probably is all I would have done, knowing what I know now. So that better lighting would have probably cost me a maximum of $200 to do, and that would be it. Instead, I paid like 15 grand. So don't over rehab. It's a mistake that's very easy to make. Just because your standards are somewhere doesn't mean the people who's living their standards are going to be in the same place. Okay, now that we've rehabbed it, once you're done rehabbing it, the next step is to furnish it. And so what we furnish it with is kitchen supplies. So think pots, pans, kitchenware, all that good stuff. Common area furniture, which is going to be, your dining room table, your dining room chairs, couch, TV, coffee table, all that good stuff. The chore board is something that, we won't be able to go in super detail now, but this is like the nucleus that holds the house together. The chore board is going to be in the kitchen, and it is basically says who's doing what chore each week, and it rotates. You can see this little star here. It's all pointing to somebody's name, and that chore rotates every week. So people are accountable. They know who's doing what chore each week. So if they're like, the living room is dirty, AJ, you didn't clean the living room this week, like, bro, pick it up, right? So you've got like 6 or 7 people kind of on you, making sure that you're doing your chores because they're doing their chores. And that super, super helps not only the culture of the house, but also helps them take care of it. Bathroom caddies. So these are just like, sometimes, the situation works out where someone's like living downstairs, but they have to use an upstairs bathroom or something like that. Then we give them a bathroom caddy so they can carry their stuff from their room down to the bathroom and all that kind of stuff. Outdoor maintenance tools. So rather than paying landscapers and all that kind of stuff, we'll just buy an electric lawnmower, an electric weed whacker, and a shovel, and just say, hey, take care of the lawn. It's one of the chores that they do, and doesn't have to happen that often. It happens like maybe once every other week when it's like the 2 months, 3 months of where you actually need it. And then of course, cleaning supplies. Make it easy for people to keep your house clean. Have your cleaning supplies, have it there so it's easy access to people to use. You can't expect people to clean stuff if they don't have the stuff there. So we got the market, we got the team, we got the deal, we got the rehab and furnishing. Now it is time to get people into the house. How do you market it to different people? We start marketing the property when it's about 90% furnished to be as efficient as possible. And we're going to market, these are the main places we market. Zillow is huge. Facebook Marketplace is massive. The different Facebook groups in your area will also be great. And then also Roomies and Roomster. We probably get 95% of our tenants here. There are some other ways that we'll get residents into our homes. But I would say, like, if you're just starting and you don't want to like be spinning your wheels, putting listings everywhere, start here. You'll be able to fill your rooms relatively quickly. As you start to develop more of a business here, we actually have a website of our own, where you can have all of your rooms and all your different areas available so that you can either send people to your website, you can get your SEO up, and just people will just naturally come here and they'll apply right on your website, just like they would on the MLS to see the properties that you've got available. And so now that you've got you've got applicants coming in, people are seeing your listing, they're getting applied to. Now you've got to screen your tenants. And this is, so we do background checks, of course, right? Background checks are going to basically tell us, hey, is this person a safe person to live with? We always want to make sure that, oftentimes in this demographic of people, you're going to have some stuff come up in their backgrounds. A lot of times it's DUI or like, some minor misdemeanors and stuff like that. We're not really too concerned about that kind of stuff. Like we'll let those pass. Stuff we're concerned about, violent crimes, theft and hard drug use, that stuff we probably want to stay away from, right? But everything else we're kind of like pretty lax on. We're just making sure that we're not in here with any murderers or sex offenders or anything like that. And then the other thing is credit scores and income verification. Now, this is a gold nugget that most people don't do. Most people are going to do these credit scores and income verifications. And for the longest time, I did this too. But after chatting with Grant, who has done this a lot better and a lot more and very high efficiently than I do, we actually don't do this anymore. And the big reason for not doing this is that this demographic of people, right? They're paying such little amount of rent, and a lot of times these people are in trouble. And so by being different than everybody else, right? There's that saying, the obstacle is the way. So by being different, by differentiating ourselves from everybody else and accepting people where credit score doesn't matter and their income doesn't matter, we are able to have a massive applicant pool, which is a big reason why our what's it called, our occupancy is so high, is because we actually are able to accept a lot more people. And at this price range, you can develop relationships with charities in your area, whether it's churches or just government agencies that will actually help pay the rent of the tenants who can't pay. Like there are so many organizations out there that want to see people off the streets and into homes, and it's a lot easier to get these people to pay $900 for a room than it is for people to get an organization to pay $2,500 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, right? And so it's really, really easy to do. And because we're on month-to-month leases and all that, it's much easier to get people to leave if they don't pay, and we can't give them help. And for some reason, the other organizations that we know and we work with aren't able to help them with their rent. And so that's a big like aha that I had, that I was like mind blown, right? And that's just one of many things that we'll be discussing with you later here. And so picking a market, building a team, finding and analyzing deals, rehab and furnishing, we got down. Marketing and screening tenants, we got down. Now managing conflict. Once you've got tenants in the house, you're going to have a lot of unrelated people living here. You're going to have some conflict. Heck, even if you had this many related people living here, you're going to have a lot of conflict. And so how do you handle this? And then you can take this back to your spouse. You can take this back to your business partner. You can take this strategy back to anywhere that you know and talk with. But we call this the 5-on-5 process. And the 5-on-5 process is tenant 1 talks for 5 minutes, and then tenant uninterrupted. Like you literally have a timer on your iPhone. You set the timer for 5 minutes, and then person 1 talks until either the timer runs out or they've had enough. Almost always they don't need the full 5 minutes. And then when they're done, tenant 2 talks. Same process. Set the timer for 5 minutes, they talk. The biggest reason why arguments and conflict break out is because the people can't actually articulate what is wrong. So instead of tenant 1 talking, then tenant 2 talking over tenant 1, and then tenant 1, and then just all this bickering comes out, and they get up and they start throwing knives at each other, right? So you have a really cordial conversation. We train our tenants on this process so they know if they're having a problem, we just say, hey, do you have a 5-on-5? No? Okay, go have the 5-on-5. 90% of the time, the 5-on-5 solves the problem. If it doesn't, have them repeat it. Then the second time around, probably 90% of that time, the second one resolves it. If for some reason the second 5-on-5 or the third 5-on-5 doesn't solve the issue, then that's probably when you step in and you try to understand, okay, this is a situation where we have to have somebody move out. This is a situation where we can actually solve this problem, but this eliminates probably 95% of your conflicts. And then, okay, so that's we're at the point now where we've got the house, we've got it filled, we've managed conflicts, it's managed pretty wisely now. The next big thing is scaling. And so the number one thing that prevents people from scaling is usually a lack of money. And so that's why we've kind of developed this strategy called Beyond House Hacking. And so there's three people you need for Beyond House Hacking. You need a money partner, someone with money, an operator slash manager, that's ideally you in this situation, and then a primary resident. And so what's going to happen here is that the primary resident is going to go on the loan to make the whole organization eligible for the low down payment property for 5% down, 3 or 5% down. The money partner, now instead of needing to bring 20% down, can just bring 5% down. The primary resident, you maybe offer them free rent for a year or something like that. So that way you can get into the property at a low down payment. And then the operator manager, you're burning and churning. You're doing what we just talked about. Finding the deal, finding the tenants, making stuff happen, printing the money. Boom. No money out of your pocket. And that's a great way to scale money-wise. Then, of course, operations-wise, as you start collecting a lot of these things, it's going to be I mean, difficult. It's going to be demanding, right? You're not going to be able to do all this yourself. Probably once you get to 3 or 4 homes, you're going to be kind of strapped and you're going to need some help. And so the first thing that I'd recommend you do is every house should have a new member rep. And so this new member rep, we pay them every month to show homes, and we help the new person assimilate to all the house rules. And so that way, the new member rep has a say in who lives in the house. This actually increases occupancy tremendously, because if it doesn't pass this person's sniff test, then they're not going to live in that house. And because this person has a say, they have more, they have like a more desire to keep them there. And then of course, there's a lot of things that we need to get onboarded, like, the chore board and all this kind of stuff, but we kind of get them assimilated to the culture of the home. The second thing is, as you start to scale, you're going to have a lot of money because you're going to have all this passive income coming in. At some point, it's going to be a business for you, and you can actually hire what we call a household supporter. So this household supporter will, in the event something does come up, like a conflict, the household supporter takes care of that, not you. The household supporter can go around to each house and check in on it and make sure things are good, get the thumbs up, thumbs down from each resident, and implement any changes that they suggest, and can handle any outstanding issues. And so the ratio that we typically have is that there's typically one household supporter for about 20 homes. So until you get to 20 homes, you can have one manager there. And then once you hire one more household supporter, that unlocks another 20 homes that you can grow and scale to. And this process is super repeatable, just over and over again, right? You've got the systems, you've got everything signed up to do that.
I
And
had a
so what
quick
is like,
question about that.
yeah, Ted,
Sorry.
we'll save the questions to the end. We'll have some time for
Okay.
Q&A.
Sorry about that.
Yep. If you feel like you forget, feel free to just drop it in the chat and then we can reference it later. So in terms of scaling, right, what does that look like? So let's say you buy one property right away, right? That's $1,000 a month. You could do that easy, no problem, behind your back, no, easy. Let's say you do two. You can probably do that, no problem as well. $2,000 a month. Not life-changing, but still helpful. $3,000 a month, maybe you're financially free if you're super frugal. These days, after inflation these last couple of years, probably not, right? But with systems and with a team and with the right mentorship, you can turn this into nine pretty easily, $9,000 a month. That might be financial independence for a lot of people, right? And then you can scale this to as many as you want, right? You can build your passive income to be, big enough so you can actually start experiencing some luxuries in life, which might be, $30,000 if you can get 30 of these things under your belt. And so the point here is, like, once you can do, like, one is hard because it's scary. Two is less hard. Three is probably hard because now at this point you probably don't want to be hiring stuff out yet. But once you get to nine, every incremental one after that is much, much easier. And so now I've got a few questions for you. Do you guys, and please drop this in the chat, these answers in the chat. Do you feel more comfortable after today purchasing a co-living property? Awesome. Were you happy that you've come to the webinar today? Love you guys. Awesome. Do you realize the advantage you have in the market by investing in co-living and seeing deals that are right there on the MLS that most people will say is no deals? And then even if you got 2 to 3 gold nuggets out of today, which I hope you got more than that, would you say that our time was well spent? Awesome. And last question, would you like to spend more time together going deeper and further on how to purchase co-living properties? Because we just like barely scratched the surface with some little nuggets and tidbits today, but there's a lot more to get into. Awesome. This is super exciting. And so I basically came today with you guys with two choices. My first choice is that I could tell you what I told you today, and I could basically just sit here and pray and hope that you guys just pick up these two or three nuggets. You go off, you invest, and hopefully that you have a good return on your investment. In a few years, you'll be, where I am and where Grant is, and where Jeff is and where Gabe is and where Nate is. And we can hopefully maybe be on a beach together someday. But I feel like the odds are much lower than if I were to take a little bit more of a, um, I guess, guided approach, and actually was kind of like your coach, mentor, and and guide through this whole thing, so that you can take the 30 years of combined experience that me and Grant have, and not make those same mistakes. I mean, I already told you a $15,000 mistake that I made, right? There's been multiple of those over time. We can help you avoid those. Um, and yeah, and take a more, I guess, personal and role in that. And so we created what we call the Co-Living Academy. And what it is it's going to be the secrets to obtaining $1,000 a month in cash flow per house in any market. And we've done this in expensive markets, and even cheaper markets. It's going to be way more than that, $2,000-$3,000 a month. This is going to be a step-by-step approach for buying, managing, and scaling your co-living portfolio. And you will make way more money in less time with less effort than you ever thought possible. And by the way, it's taken me like 5 or 6 years to actually come through with this and do this, because I really wanted to see it work in person with multiple people, not just me, not just Grant, but with people that we've actually, that I actually know. And so what this consists of is going to be a 10-module masterclass starting May 12th. It's 10 weeks with Q&As each week. We're going to release 1 week at a time so you can dive deep into each section. And we're going to have a Q&A that corresponds with each week. So that way, any questions that you have specific to you that maybe weren't covered in that, you're going to be able to get that answered. There's going to be a step-by-step scaling blueprint with everything you need to know to get your first, second, third, or 30th co-living property, so that you can maximize profit and minimize the risk. Again, there's hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars of mistakes that we've made that we're trying to help you guys skip those. And then, yeah, speed up success with 30 years of experience. On top of that, there's going to be a mastermind of people that are going to be co-living. This is a super niche investment class, and super niche investment area. And so we're going to give you direct access to everybody else that we know that is investing in co-living. So you can have this high level networking. You can share and receive battle tested strategies shared in real time. So you're going to avoid the hundreds of thousands of dollars of mistakes that me and Grant have made, but also perhaps the $5,000 to $10,000 mistakes that your peers have made to hopefully save you a lot more money. This will be your new inner circle, right? Like if you want to truly achieve financial independence in 3 years, you need to be around other people that want to achieve financial independence in 3 years too. Otherwise, there's a quote out there that's like, tell me who you are, just show me your friends. Well, make friends that are in co-living investing, and you'll be a co-living investor making thousands of dollars a month per property. And then, of course, we're going to have our weekly calls with either Grant or I spearheading those calls with everybody else on, and just kind of making some magic happen. In addition to all that, so you're going to get everything we know in the course, plus everything that's specific that might happen to you with the Elite Mastermind and the community. You're going to get all of our leases, templates, checklists, documents, all that kind of stuff. So we've got, the lease agreements between us and the residents. We've got the master lease agreements for if you want to do the arbitrage, all the contracts, all that good stuff. We've got our step-by-step checklist. So how do you create the chore board? What is the screening criteria? All the stuff that we didn't really have time to get into today. We have all this checked out, so you don't have to skip any steps. You can just literally take what we have, copy, paste, check, 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 check. Good, right? And then also customizable templates, so you can see, whether that's a listing presentation. We've played with probably hundreds of different listing templates to actually see what actually works and what people actually click on, right? And so you're going to basically be able to save yourself from a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of struggle by avoiding that. And then the partnership agreements, right? This is huge. These have all been looked over, lawyer reviewed, and this is what's going to help you scale. This is what's going to help you get that money partner and feel good about, the legal agreements behind it. so that you can, confidently go to somebody and say, hey, I need $30,000 so that you can buy this $600,000 house with 5% down. We're going to give this guy free rent for a year so that you can do that. And you're going to receive a return that's probably like 70 to 80% return on investment. Sound good? Right? We've got agreements for that. And so the value here that we're providing, right? I think it's very easy to say that like we could probably argue that this value could be like $50,000, right? I've made more than $50,000 off of this strategy. Grant has made more than $50,000 off this strategy. We're giving you everything that we know. Of course, I told you I was going to give you 3 gifts, right? At the end of this. And here are 2 of the 3 gifts. The first one is my top 20 books that has absolutely radically changed my life in real estate. And so if you haven't read these top 20 books, I highly recommend. You've got 20 books to add to your book list. And then also a guide, a PDF. It's like a 7 or 8 page PDF on how to buy these co-living houses with no money down. And so we talk about the partnerships, we talk about everything like that. And so you got that laid out for you step by step. Now, of course, I'm not going to charge you $5,000 for that. We have this code, Co-Living Rocks, and I'm going to share with you what that means in a second. I'm going to be a little cryptic about it, right? But we could probably charge $25,000. I'm not going to charge you 50, but we could probably charge $25,000. This is pretty much the cost of 1 semester of university that you probably aren't using any of your credits for. This is the cost of trade school, which will probably make you, not nearly as much as what you would here. And so there's lots of other organizations that charge you this amount of money where you're getting a way less return, yet people do it every single day. But we're not going to charge you that. I'm not crazy. $15,000, we could charge that. Probably just for the mastermind group. I pay $15,000 a year to be part of a high-level mastermind group around business owners that help. And I think the ROI there is absolutely tremendous. And so I do that every single year. But I understand that right now you may not be at the same level that we are at right now. And so we're trying to make this as affordable as possible. So $95.89 is the price of this entire offering that we have. But I am not, you guys are like near and dear to my heart. I'm not just going to give this to you for $95.89. With the code Co-Living Rocks, we're giving this to you for just $7,500. The course, the mastermind group, and all of the templates. And so that's the absolute best that we could do. But we're not going to stop there either. We're going to give you a lot more than just what we provided. And so you can sign up by going to thecolivingguys.com/colivingacademy, type in your information, type in that Co-Living Rocks code, and then on May 12th, everything is going to be unleashed to you, including the first week, as well as all the templates, all of everything. If, of course, you have any questions along the way, I think a lot of you guys know me. We're going to make sure that you're hooked up. But in addition to all the stuff that we just talked about, you're also going to get that co-living calculator. It's already been synced, it's been primed, it's been worked. It's how we evaluate every single one of our deals. So you know if these deals are going to be profitable. It takes the guesswork out of all this stuff. You're going to be able to track all your expenses that come in and out of the house. So you buy a new TV, well, you're going to be able to put that in for the year. And so that way you can send this easily to your accountant and they know exactly what your property is. And you can also see what your property is actually making you in real time. And then you'll also be able to compare this, especially if you'll be able to look at your occupancy and your ROI. So you can compare your occupancy to other people in the group, and you can say, hey, my occupancy is at 80% and yours is at 90%. Like, Luke, what are you doing to get 90% occupancy? And then, that's where some magic happens, right? You're actually able to compare and stuff. And again, so you can get this at colivingguys.com/colivingacademy. So when you sign up, this is part of the bonuses that you will receive. In addition, you'll be able to work directly with our team to help you find the perfect deal. So again, we have helped over 600 people buy deals like this. We will personally coach, guide, and mentor you, make sure that you are buying the right deal up front. Because the worst thing that happens, it breaks my heart. I've seen other people go with non-investor friendly realtor teams, or going with their friends or their grandma or whatever, and they buy the wrong house. And I'm just like, bro, we can like kind of make it work, but I would have bought something way different. I would have told you to buy something way different. We'll make sure to negotiate and get you the best possible price and terms. Again, we've done this 500, 600 times. Like, I'm not afraid to ask the agent for the world. I'm not afraid to, get you in the right place. And as long as you're not emotionally attached to any house, we can go really hard on the negotiation. And of course, we'll be guiding you step by step on what to actually do with the home. And again, you can sign up at thecolivingguys.com/colivingacademy. So if you guys didn't already know, we're going to also include in the next, we have our tickets to the Co-Living Conference. The Co-Living Conference, if you haven't already signed up, you got to go check it out. It's June 6th and 7th. I think it's a Friday, Saturday, coming up here in about a little over a month. You get exclusive access at absolutely no cost to you when you sign up. You can network with other co-living folks in the industry. We're going to have the president of Pad Split there. We're going to have Sam Wiegert there. He's also a guy that's pretty big in the co-living space. If you ever heard of him, a good friend of mine. Grant's going to be there. I'm going to be there. A lot of our team's going to be there. And so it's in Denver, and it's going to be an absolutely baller event. It is the first time that this is happening. I don't know if we're ever going to be able to offer these tickets for free ever again. And so we are super excited to just get a bunch of co-living experts into the room, and you're going to learn a lot. You might even meet a couple partners there. Literally one partnership will completely change your life. And so just that honestly could be worth the whole month, the whole thing. And we're selling these right now, retailing at $500. So that's $1,000 value coming at you exactly for free when you sign up at thecolivingguys.com/co-living academy. And the last thing, the big shebang, is that you will have free consulting with me and Grant to make sure that you are buying the perfect property. You'll cut the learning curve. You'll learn exactly what we know. You won't make any of the mistakes that we made. You won't mess up buying the house or anything like that. And we'll be able to tackle your specific challenges head on. Go on to thecolivingguys.com/co-living academy to sign up. So just to recap, you're going to get the 10 module masterclass, the elite mastermind group, all templates contracts, the co-living calculator, professional help before you buy, 2 free tickets to the conference, as well as free consulting with me or Grant. And this is whatever market you're in, right? We're able to coach you on the house, coach you on the parking, coach you on the red flags, the green flags, and what to look out for. All that for just $7,500 when you sign up at thecolivingguys.com. And this $7,500 value is only going to be for the next 2 days. This is going to expire Thursday at midnight. Otherwise, it's going to go back up to that $95.89 price. I wanted to hook you guys up. I wanted to hook you up for being here. And I wanted to hook you up for staying with us through the whole thing. We just super appreciate it. And to make it like stupidly obvious for you to sign up for this and make it little to no risk on your end, we are going to offer you guys a free money back guarantee within the first 30 days, whether it's 29 minutes from now or 29 days from now. You are going to just send me a message saying, hey, I want my money back. This isn't worth it. I don't like this anymore. We'll give you your money back, no questions asked. And so you'll be able to dive in. You'll be able to understand what the courses are all about. You'll be able to understand what the templates are, all that good stuff. And I'll say that money back, that 30 days will start on May 12th when everything is released. And so basically between May 12th and June 12th, you can just say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out. We'll give you your money back, no questions asked. So we eliminate all the risk for you. And so that's it, guys. Sign up, colivingguys.com. We're super excited to bring this offering to you. We're super excited. And again, like this is going to continue to get better. And as it gets better, of course, the price to you will always be the same because you're just going to pay it one time, but it will increase as we continue to add more and more to it. So thank you guys all for listening. I do want to promise you for questions. I came in just at an hour exactly, so I'm going to give myself a high five on the timing. But we probably got about 30 minutes or so for Q&A here. So, yeah, you can if you want to raise your hand in the virtual raise your hand, I will then call on you, and then we can kind of go that way. But in the meantime, I will answer questions in the chat. Okay, so Jordan asked, how is the equity and cash flow split between the person on the loan, the operator, and the person funding the deal? So this is for the partnership stuff. And so now this is a partnership. So this can work any way that you want, any way that you can negotiate it. But what we've seen work most frequently is the person the person like living in the home is not an equity partner at all on the property. They are just like a non-owning member of the LLC. And so they live in the property. But the ownership is then split. Ownership and cash flow is split 50-50 between the owner operator and the money partner. And so that's what we've seen. That's what we've seen there. And feel free, like if you, I'd rather have you guys like talking in person here too. So I don't like reading and talking. So any like questions, I'm gonna give preference to anybody who is in person speaking over the chat.
Yeah, I had a question from earlier.
Okay. Yeah, Ted, go ahead.
I was curious, like whenever someone moves into one of these co-living spaces, do you have like a group chat with them, or do you just like give the tenants a heads up that someone's moving in and let them figure it out?
Yeah, so each house has a WhatsApp group, and and then yeah, so that's how that would work. Is like whenever someone is in the house, then they'll get put into the WhatsApp group.
Okay.
I got a question.
Yes, sir, Wesley.
How's it going, Craig? I kid you not, man. I've read your house hacking strategy book 3 times. It's been like my Bible on my way
Let's
to get
go.
my first house hack. So
Ha.
before I even ask my question, man, like, thank you so much. That's like, I think it was like 15 bucks. Best 15 bucks I ever spent.
Oh,
Thank
dude, that
you, man.
makes my
It's
heart
really,
sing, man. I
yeah, it's
appreciate
cool
that.
I get to
Thank
talk to
you.
you, man. I close in a month. So it's cool I get to have
Let's
this conversation
go.
before.
Congrats, dude. Congrats.
No, I appreciate it, man. So question I have, I know during the presentation you mentioned that the ideal size is like 2,300 square feet for the house.
Yeah.
I might up a little bit. Um, Personally, I don't have that. I have a 6 bed at 1,800 square feet.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out ways to kind of stand out during the rental process. So I've kind of thought about like maybe adding in a couple grand and turning the garage into a home gym, or maybe even like getting some bikes because typically the applicant pool might not have a car or something like that. So like just ways to kind of stand out. Any ideas or things you've seen successful as far as that?
What market are you in?
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. So I would figure out like what's popular in Atlanta, Georgia, and like what people are needing. And so if you feel like, oh, like most of the people are, if you're buying in like maybe a lower socioeconomic area or like people don't make as much money, or you're kind of helping people that are like coming out of rehab or something like that, then bikes might make a lot of sense, especially if you're like maybe like not super close to a bus stop. Like if you're close to a bus stop, you might not need a bike. Um, Home gym, I think that's fantastic too. Just watch out for liability because if someone gets hurt in your home gym, you might be liable. And so like you just want to check into that. Um, I know that I've seen some people just like offer gym memberships to people. Like you could just have a partnership with like Planet Fitness or something like that. It's like 10 bucks a month. And so, for an additional 70 bucks a month, you could have everybody in your house have a free membership at Planet Fitness. And you can just say, hey, if you don't go at least like 10 times in the month, then I'm going to revoke that membership or whatever, right? And so there's a few different ways to do it. Um, and it's good that you found a house that's 1,800 square feet that it has 6 or 7 beds in it. I've only really seen a couple of houses like that, and maybe it's just different in different markets. But that means your house is efficient, dude. Like I wish I could say that I saw that every day. So that's good.
Um, well, I took your advice, man. It was 5 beds at first, and then I kind of took out the living room and made a room in there as well. And kind of like did some forced appreciation. But one more question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So, what do you think the best DIY projects would be? I'm trying to kind of decide now between like what should I pay a contractor for, and then what should I just kind of, suck it up and do myself. And keep in
I
mind,
would
I have very little skill here.
Very little skill.
Very
I
little
would
skill.
say I would say like plumbing and electric is going to be your like the stuff that you probably want to hire out. So if you're adding a bathroom, hire out a plumber to at least do the rough-ins. Um, and if you're like adding a stove or adding some or if you're adding a bedroom and you need to wire outlets, I don't think you need an electrician. A handyman could do that, but I wouldn't mess with it if you're not comfortable with it. Um, Everything else you could probably do yourself. Drywall sucks. Like, I mean, drywall you can do, but it just is really, it just sucks. I would probably hire out drywall after doing it myself, but again, you could do it yourself. It's not like it's not that hard. It's just annoying and heavy and a lot of waiting. So
Cool. Thanks again,
cool.
Craig. I really appreciate it,
Awesome.
man.
Yeah, thanks, Wesley. Thanks for hopping on, dude. Colby, what's up, bro?
Hey Greg, you know my situation probably better than
Yes, sir.
anyone at this point. Just for everyone's reference, Craig was my realtor where I bought my first house hack here in Denver. I moved from Florida all the way to Denver to do this. I was so excited about it, and I'm a lot like you, Wesley. I read the book. I reached out to him directly on Instagram. I just, I just had it in me. But enough about that. Um, Question I have is sort of I guess, partly answered by Wesley's question. I'm in a position where I'm sort of uncovering some hidden gems in my house. For instance, there's a previously bricked up driveway that to the side that we just completely uncovered And now I'm thinking about putting like an awning in place so it's a covered driving spot, you know, stuff like that. But what I'm super interested in is, do you have like a short list of like the best renovation or amenity investments? For example, maybe it's a garage conversion. Maybe it's a hot tub. Maybe like to build on what you said about partnerships, partner with Planet Fitness, offer membership free, and then we schedule like weekly or monthly workout sessions together. It's a way to build a community too. Um, yeah. Do you have any input there?
I mean, I think like having your ideas rolling, like this is a big reason why I think the like the community aspect and the elite co-living community will be so great because like Wesley's gonna have an idea and you're gonna have an idea and you can take each other's ideas and none of those ideas might have been mine because I had never done any of those things, right? Um, I would say in terms of like just from what you're telling me now, putting an awning over a to like make a carport probably ROI. I probably wouldn't do that, honestly. That awning is probably going to cost you 5 grand and you might get an extra 25 bucks a month. Like to me, that's going to take a long time to recoup that. The best thing for sure is adding bedrooms. If the bathroom allows for it, and if the bathrooms don't allow for it, then you got to add the bathrooms so that you can add the bedrooms. By far going to be the best ROI that you're going to happen. In terms of like amenities, I think people really don't care as much about amenities as you might think. I think the biggest thing is like people want to live in a good, clean house and be part of a community. And if you can foster that community in different ways, like if you the gym membership, group gym membership, like a group workouts, that could be great. Maybe it's like a movie night every whatever, like maybe you're doing potlucks every other week or something. Like you can just have little events within your house to create a culture that is fantastic. But I don't think you necessarily need to have a crazy investment for it. Now, if you're seeing like a crazy good deal where someone's giving you a free hot tub, take it and see how it works, right? Or like if you got some gym equipment that's like 100 bucks for a bunch of stuff, like try it out, right? Like try out different things and see what works.
Yeah.
Cool. Jordan, what you got, brother?
Yeah, continuation of the question earlier. If the person that's on the loan is a non-owning member of the LLC, how does that not trigger the due on sale clause? Because I talked to Mike about this probably about a month ago, and he was like, "Hey, the ownership has to stay in place there."
Um, so we've done this a few times where the resident is on the loan, the money, so it's like the resident and the money partner on the loan. And then after like I've seen people do it like literally the same day, like at the title company right after they close. They then just quit claim it to this LLC and it doesn't cause anything. Like I've never seen it actually happen. Um, if you want to be super cautious, I would wait like 6 months um, until like after the loan, because they're going to sell the loan, right? Like if you close with Mike at Megastar, they're going to close the loan and it's going to get transferred to like Wells Fargo or something, more likely than not. And then after that, then you can do it, and they're not going to really care, especially if like the people are still on the LLC, like the people who own the LLC are still are owning the LLC or who own the loan own the LLC, because people like quit claim properties back and forth all day. Like it doesn't really set off red flags. The big thing is just make sure you make your payments so that way they're not paying attention to you. Because
Yeah,
like they have hundreds of thousands of loans outstanding, and I'm sure there's a massive spreadsheet, and they're going to go off after the delinquent people before they go after, loan 4, 5, 6, 7 that's current and good and paying on time every month.
got it.
Cool. Um, all right, I see. Um, Gabriel Duque, are you on, man? I'd love to have you ask the question. Um, but all good. I can.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah,
Yeah. What was
absolutely.
your question?
It's basically the same question. So basically, you're just saying that in case you're gonna put the resident in the loan, you just basically make it a subject to structure.
Yeah, it's very similar to that, where like it kind of transfers residences, and like it's kind of like the same risk profile with the lender. Like if you've ever done a subject to deal, I've probably done like 4 or 5 subject to deals at this point. It's not like my main strategy, but I'll do them if they come across. And I've never had or heard of. I've heard of one due on sale clause getting clause because of a subject to, and I don't even know who it was. It was like a friend of a friend who knew somebody that this got called on. So like, can it happen? Yes. But I probably like am networked with probably over 1,000 people that have done subject to deals, and I've never really heard of it happening directly. So I'd say your odds are pretty dang high, but know that it is a potential risk.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I want to be respectful and not take up all the questions, but if
Hey, if no one
nobody,
else is asking them, bro, it's all you,
cool.
man.
So like I said, I read your book, man, and I see when I was reading it, you had the standards of the credit score, the background check, and then the proof of income. And then on this presentation, you kind of X two of those things. So what's happened for you to change your mind on that? And then I guess from my perspective, I worry about sharing a house with somebody who like might have a low credit score. Like, are you going to pay me rent on time? Even if it is month to month, that might be a headache. But what made you change your mind about that? And then do you suggest that for people who are living with their tenants as well?
Yeah, so Grant, who's my business partner, is the one who made me change my mind. And I was pretty firm on that. And when I wrote the book, I was firm on it. And if you asked me 6 months ago, I'd be firm on it. But after looking at Grant's operation and how many people he had, and how many people he had paying, and again, like what separates you from everybody else, sometimes we kind of make up things in our head that we think are going to be problems, but aren't necessarily problems. And so, um, yeah, we had a long discussion on it. And I was like, at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? He has a bigger and badder operation than me. This is why we partnered, is because like his operations were the best I've seen. And I've seen Sam Wiegert's, and I've seen Grant's, and I've seen mine, and I've seen many other people's. And I was just like, this dude knows what's up. And so after seeing his numbers and seeing everything, I'm just kind of have to admit when you're wrong sometimes, right? Like you kind of have to like submit to a higher authority if you feel as though that they've got something better than you. And so um, it was just kind of like a humbling moment for me. And I was like, okay, like I've got really no ground to stand on. It's working fantastic for you. And this way of doing the background checks is in sorry, the credit checks and all that is working for me. But I wonder how much better it could work if I didn't do that. And I never tried it. I never tested it. And so I think like having those relationships, like I would probably contact a few nearby churches and nearby nonprofits and see what assistance your government offers, like your local jurisdictions, to see, hey, do you guys have any sort of rental assistance programs? If we have somebody come in to say you provide affordable housing to people, and sometimes they make it's hard for them to get rent every month or so. So make those connections, and then you got a repository of 3 to 5 organizations you can reach out to. Be like, yo, Joe needs $900 a month for rent this month. Is there any way you could spot him? Otherwise, I'm gonna have to kick him out. And like most people would be like, all right, I'll give him $900. It's a lot easier to give him 900 than to give him 2,500, right? For a 3 bed 2 bath or whatever the difference is there. So that was that. But appreciate that, Wesley. Jordan.
Yeah, I'll lay out a brief assumption and then my question. My assumption is that the person that's on the loan, um, even when they're removed with a quick claim, it would still hit their credit report. So I would assume that come 3, 5, 10 years down the road, that person comes to you and says, "Hey, I'm looking to apply for a house. Is it still hitting my credit score, or whatever liabilities I have? Can you take me off of it? Have you thought about an exit strategy to that?" And if what I'm saying is, "Hey, you're wrong here, Jordan," feel free to call it out.
You're not wrong, but there's a but there. And so they will not be able, so after they apply for this loan, they will not be able to buy a home for the next 12 to 14 months, unless they can qualify for 2 homes. And so you need to tell them that, right? Like, hey, that's why we offer them free housing for 12 to 14 months. So that way they have the free housing. And then by the time they're out of that house, they can go buy a property after 12 months after they can show proof to their lender that's like, hey, here's all my bank statements. I am not required to make this payment. It's a partnership, and I'm not in on that. I don't require to make those payments. And then that would release the debt part of their debt to income on that, and then they'd be able to go and buy their home.
Thanks.
Colby. Yep.
Just as a follow-up to what you were saying,
Is that a
about
kitten? Is that a kitty?
It is. This is Birdie. She's a
nice,
mess.
man.
I'm trying to keep her off my
Love it.
headphone cords. Um, yeah, she's a feature here at my house hack. Um, and sometimes something else. Anyway, um, sorry. Um, following up on uh, your advice to, reach out to potential charities, churches, governments, other groups that might be able to assist a tenant with rent. That sounds good, but just based on my experience, which is limited so far, it seems like there'd be some roadblocks in the way, or there's some additional, like more difficult pieces to that. I'm wondering if you've had some experience with that personally, and or if Grant has, and how that took place.
I know Grant has for sure. He's the one that has set all that up. So I don't have any like specific like, hey, this is what happens. From my understanding is that it wasn't very difficult, but you may just have to call a few around to see if they have a program like that. And to see like, hey, what do you need to do to prove to them that, hey, you actually do provide housing. These are the houses or the house that I have. Here's the room. Here's all the stuff. Show them your ad. I mean, maybe they have to send somebody over to your house so they can do a tour and see what your house looks like, and you can show them that, hey, this is legit. And like there might be a screening process that you have to go through and some roadblocks for sure. But if you can have like a safety net of like, oh, hey, this person, this organization will have some rent that if worse comes to worse, they can kind of tap into. Fantastic, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it's basically like Section 8, but for that,
yeah. Sounds like something to definitely know in advance before, yeah, taking
Yeah, like
taking
you want to start making these connections like now, you know.
yeah. Um, yeah, and I'll follow up on the thing June 6th.
Oh, yeah. Yep, for sure.
Yeah, just for Grant's questions for Grant on that.
Okay. Awesome. Um, Luke, what you got, brother? Oh, did you put your hand down?
What's up? Well, yeah, my bad.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, so I guess you just kind of were talking about it, so maybe more a question for Grant, but with his experiences, do you know, like reaching out to those services, does the tenant kind of get complacent and be like, oh, well, I just have this backup person like paying for my rent and not try to like work towards paying the rent?
I'd say you have to set the expectation with like, hey, like this is not a recurring thing. Like they'll be able to bail you out this one time, but they're not going to bail you out twice in a row. Like this is someone doing something really nice for
Okay.
you. And you kind of have to just like set that precedent where like if you can't come up with rent or perhaps even like a way to repay them, right? You might even just implement something just like with you mentally. It's like, hey, like I'm gonna need you to repay them in the next 15 days. But they're gonna front it for now. And if they can't, then you kind of give them a warning and be like, hey, you're gonna be able to make rent this month. You kind of have to just be a little bit more on them. And then of course, if they do in fact repay them, then send that money back to the church that paid you, and then they'll probably be willing to give it back to you again when the next time comes
Yes.
around. And so then you're
So just kind of
developing a good
preface
rapport.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just kind
It's
of
all
preface it
about
with like, hey, I like you as a tenant, I want to keep you here. Um, like this church is like willing to like cover your rent this month, but like you need to repay them at the start of like next month or whatever.
exactly. And so yeah, and just say and you come at it from like, hey, I
Okay.
called around, and you can kind of like make it like you did a lot of work for them, right? Like, hey, I called around to like a bunch of different churches, and I finally found one that's actually willing to help. And so if I can get you some help this month, do you promise me that you'll get this again? Because they're not going to do it again, you know? And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's all about setting that expectation.
Yeah, that makes more sense. And then I had a quick question on the 5-on-5 for solving conflicts.
Yeah.
Since I mean, I plan to be living in it, obviously, for the people that are living in their house hacks and like the co-livings, do you advise them like monitoring the 5-on-5? Or do you think it's kind of stupid?
No, I would just say keep it between the two people who are having the problem. And then if it
Yeah.
gets to the point where they just can't resolve it, then maybe you kind of hop in and kind of help facilitate it.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I would stay out of it because think about it like you want to manage it as if you're not there because you're not going to be there more than you are there,
Forever.
like
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, right?
Yeah. That makes sense. Cool.
Cool. Awesome, man. Thank you. Awesome, guys. Well, yeah, any other questions we got here? And then if you haven't already, guys, go check out the colivingguys.com/coliving academy. I hope to see all you guys there and get to know you guys all, each and all individually a little bit better about your houses and kind of help you grow and scale. Because again, like this thing kind of stunk alone, not gonna lie. Like I made a lot of big mistakes. There's the $15,000 over rehab. I probably spent 20 to 30,000 dollars on like this landscaping thing that I didn't need to do. There's a lot of money that I spent that I thought I was doing good when in fact I didn't do anything. Didn't do anything for me. I just spent like tons of money, you know, multiple different ways. So um yeah, and I wish I had a community too. I felt like I was kind of just me doing it, which was kind of lonely and kind of stunk. But that's what's great about the internet and like, I guess like being the, you know, I guess being a little bit of a leader in the space and kind of just being able to kind of share that with everybody and make sure that you guys can all grow and before it gets too hot too, because like co-living is really taking off. It's still in its infancy, but as it gets more and more popular, these deals are going to start getting less and less attractive. Right, there's going to be more things coming on, so definitely it'll make sense to try to get as much as you can here early on before it really starts taking off. Have your systems dialed in, and that way, if it does become like the next Airbnb craze, you're way ahead of the curve and can stay ahead of it.
I'm sorry,
Awesome,
Craig.
guys.
More question, man. I
Go
might
ahead.
not get to you again. I just gotta ask. Um,
Yeah.
so with the property that I'm getting, I have like a small living room area. Like, yes, it's functional, but it's not that big. I have an unfinished basement, and transparently, I don't think I have the capital right now to add in a bathroom and add in a bedroom. And I'm considering just making it like a nice living room. But I'm hearing you talk about like those mistakes you made where you kind of just throw money and kind of put your heart into it. Um, do you think it would be smart to maybe just turn that into a nice living room or kind of just save? This is cash flowing for me, even with me living there, and then just kind of wait and be patient and then turn that unfinished basement into that bathroom, possibly room.
Um,
1,700 square feet.
I the downstairs is 1,700 square feet.
No, just the whole total. The
Oh,
house is
oh, yeah. I'd probably say like don't spend too much. Like if you're gonna like make it a living room, you can make it a living room, but it's basically just like a big bedroom without walls. And so then when it comes time to just adding walls, you could just add walls and call it a bedroom, you know?
okay.
Because you're not if you're gonna put a bedroom, you're gonna put floors in, you're gonna put all that stuff in. So like I don't think if you build a living room, I don't think there's anything that you're gonna do that you wouldn't do for a bedroom.
Super
You know
fair.
what I mean?
Yep.
So that's kind of my thought there.
Cool. Thanks a lot, man.
But if you're stressed on capital, like just throw a couple of rugs and a couch and some chairs down there, and just like let people hang out in an unfinished area. Like
Yeah, that's what I
a
was
lot of
thinking.
people,
And
a lot of people aren't going to care, right? Like, yeah,
cool. Thanks a lot, Craig. I appreciate it.
for sure, guys. For sure, man. We got like 5 more minutes, guys. If there's any last minute questions.
Since no one else really has one, I'll ask. Oh, does Rich have one?
Mhm.
Yeah, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yep.
Awesome. Hey, Craig. Thanks for putting this on. I have a question about like I may have missed it. I've been kind of coming in and out. But how about houses with like a relaxed HOA? Is that okay, or should we be targeting places that don't have any HOAs at all?
I really don't like HOAs because
Okay.
relaxed HOAs can turn into stressed HOAs if something changes, like if management changes or something like that. Um, it's just another layer of rules that I don't love. Um, Personally, I'd stay away if it's possible. Like if you can find houses without HOAs in your area that are like equally good and not and around the same price, like for sure, I would avoid it. But if you're like, I gotta be in this neighborhood, like these houses work so good, the parking is fantastic, and there's a $50 a month HOA because they plow the streets if it snows or something, I might make a consideration, but I have yet to make a consideration personally. I don't think I own any houses with HOAs.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Cool. All right, yeah, see you, Kobe. All right, guys, any last second questions? Whether it's on this or whether it's on, the thing that we're offering, and just yeah, super excited to kind of launch this and see you guys. Yeah, super um open to answering. We've got 3 more minutes. Otherwise, I might give you 3 more minutes of your night back. You can thank me later.
Well, what do you think? I'll ask you,
Yeah.
what do you
What you
think
got,
is the
dude?
biggest thing you learned within like the first 2 years of doing it to like people just getting into it?
I mean, well, the things that I learned are just like ridiculously dumb now. Like you're like, duh. So I didn't know that you could. I mean, the biggest thing I learned is that I didn't know you could take a single family home and rent it by the room. So my first property was the duplex, a one bedroom. They were each 1 bedroom, 1 bath units, up down as part of a townhome. Uh, and it didn't, and I had to live behind a curtain in a room divider to make it cash flow. So like the biggest thing I learned was like, oh snap, I could buy like a cheaper house that's bigger, have my own bedroom, have better cash flow. Maybe the appreciation wouldn't be as good, but everything else kind of checks out. Um, I probably would have done that, but I guess that curtain is part of my story that makes it a little different. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's like if you're looking for something to take away, um, I would say that the thing is the things that you care about are probably not things that other people care about. Like in my second house, it was a 5 bed, 2 bath, and I made a bedroom downstairs, and it was all guys in the house except one girl, and that girl lived in the downstairs. And in order for her to use the bathroom, she had to go up the stairs through the main living room, kitchen area to use the bathroom. And there were 4 people to that bathroom. And it was never ever an issue. She didn't care. She was super chill. She would come up like, like girls do, like in their shirt towel or whatever, and like that would be something that'd be like, I don't think people would want to do that. But like she was chill. She didn't care. She loved it there. She
Okay.
stayed for like over a year. So, don't create problems that don't live up to your standards. Because like especially if it costs a lot of money. If it's a cheap fix, go for it. But like for me to add a bathroom downstairs would be, a lot of money. So I didn't do it to see if it would work, and it worked. And almost always it works. Same thing with like location. I used to make a really big deal about like location, like, oh, so people wouldn't want to live kind of out in the middle of nowhere. But like people have cars. Like I ran into a 17 bedroom house on like a 4 acre farm, probably like 45 minutes away from the city, that was totally full. So, stuff like that where, yeah, like don't overthink it.
Craig, also you said that like you guys have proven that this definitely works on expensive markets, and like I'm in the Denver area as well. I know that like it's an expensive market, but have you met anybody that's actually tried it in like the ultra like expensive markets? Let's say, especially if you wanted to find a way to start buying real estate and just holding it long term in, let's say, Vale or the Silverthorne area. Like properties out there are like million plus, but there are like some like ranches or like ranch houses that you can buy that are, have the square footage to like fill them up with rooms. Yeah. Do you have any experience with that?
That's a great question, dude. Honestly, I've not tried co-living in the mountains. I would be super, super scared to do that, honestly. If you've got more, you might have more cojones than I do. If you want to try that out, I want to hear about it for sure. Um, I just don't know enough about those markets. I know people like to live there. I know people, there's ski bums that don't make a lot of money that need cheap places to live that probably would love to do a co-living strat to co-living there. Um, but I don't know about the parking situation. You know, houses up in Vale, they're going to be multi-million for what you need, and you're going to need to get a lot of rooms into that house. Whereas that same house in Denver might be like 600,000, 700,000, right? And so, and then there's also like a lot more maintenance expenses when it comes to living in the mountains. If you got to get somebody out there to fix something, it's going to cost more for time, labor, materials, all that. And so there's just a lot of different things that go into it that it would be unknowns that I'd be cautious of. But and then also like I don't know if there's like an alternate strategy like with a lot of these homes in Denver and stuff. Like for some reason, if you decide you don't want to do co-living anymore, like you know you could probably rent it out as you know split level or like different ways. And so and I haven't seen a lot of houses up there that you could do that. So again, like it could work. I just don't know.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Thank you. Just
But
curious.
let me know. Yeah. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you all so much for the time, for the questions. If you do have any questions on, you know, if you're looking through that site, colivingguys.com/colivingacademy, feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram, the Fi Guy. I can put that in the chat. And I can help answer any questions and stuff there. If it makes sense for us to hop on a call to see if it's worth it for you or not, then I'm always happy to do that too. Want to make sure that we're providing a tremendous amount of value, but really try to come in hot today with a lot of value. And yeah, hope to see you guys. You know, hope to spend a lot more time with you guys as the months come along. So, see y'all. Have a great night, and we'll talk soon. Deuces.